My point is that being consistent is the most important thing that you can do if you're a beginner. Okay, I'll take the gym as an example and use it for you guys because that's where I'm most expertized in, if that's even a word. I went from benching 95 pounds to benching 315 in 2.5 years as a teenager, so I think that I have some validity in what I'm talking about. Consistency is the most important thing. I would never have benched 315 if I didn't show up every day. More than maybe a third of the days that I showed up in the gym, I was not able to give it 100%. There was actually like 6 or 7, 8 month period where I wasn't able to do much of anything. Where I would go there, I'd show up, I was just depressed, and I would show up, maybe do 1 or 2 lifts, and then go sit in the sauna or the steam room with music playing while I just thought, or meditated and journaled and wrote down, or I just stretched. Even though I should have been pushing more, I didn't have that in me. But the only reason that I made it as far as I did is because I kept showing up, you know? If I'm benching 135 here at the beginning of the timeline and then I get a demotivation period for 6 months, if I stop showing up during that 6 months, guess what? Everything after that is gone. But since I kept showing up during that 6 months, even though I didn't do much, that's the reason that I was able to have that period afterwards where I went on to hit 315. Okay? You have to keep showing up during these periods because essentially what you're doing by continuing to show up, even though you're not doing much or as much as you could be doing, you are sealing your fate of achieving more, even though you haven't achieved it yet. This is what a lot of people don't understand, is that motivation will fade. The motivation that you have at the beginning of the year on January 1st, it's going to go away. I've been lifting for 3.5 years, and I haven't missed a week in 3 years, 2.5 years. It's been that long. And so when I have people come up to me being like, dang, you've been lifting for 3.5 years and you've made all of this progress. I know it doesn't look like it, but you've made all of this progress, and I've been lifting for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and I'm not nearly as progressed as you. Okay, well, look at me. You want to be the person that can say, well, it's because I showed up every day. And that is what I say to people who say that. I made as much progress as I did, and I'm as strong as I am now because I showed up every single day. And I didn't miss a day, and I kept showing up, even when I wasn't able to push. Even when, I lose all my progress for a year. Even when I've gotten nerve damage in my arm. But guess what? I still showed up every single day. Okay? The night that I went to jail, I showed up. I showed up the next day. I showed up the night that I went to jail. I kept showing up. I showed up the days that I got broken up with. I showed up the days that my grandparents died. I showed up the day that my dog died. I showed up the days when I was more depressed than anything. I showed up the days when I was more happy than anything. I showed up the nights, even when it was 2 a.m. and I just got back from a 10-hour hangout with my friends. And then when my other friends that go to the gym with me went to bed, I showed up. It's not a dig at them, but it's to show that I am where I am because I kept showing up. And I am where I'm going because I kept showing up, not because I was more talented, because the reality is that I'm not more talented than anyone else. I don't have any more skill than anyone else. I'm not gifted in any sense. But what I'm able to do is keep showing up. If you can master the skill of showing up, you will have more. You will have your goals and you'll achieve what you want to achieve. Because when you show up, you're telling God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, you are telling God that you deserve this. If you pray once for success, the opportunity might come your way, but if you pray every night for success, you will be prepared to take the success. I'm not lucky for benching 315 after 2.5 years. I prepared for years. I made a very intentional effort throughout my mornings, throughout my nights. I would wake up, I would go to school early so I could eat lunch or so I could eat breakfast in the morning at school, so I could get more calories in. I would bring snacks to all of my classes, and I would eat to the point where I threw up at school, where I needed to throw up at school. Then I'd go eat lunch, and the whole time I'd have my headphones in. I'd be thinking about 315. I'd be thinking about my goal. You know, I would go home and I'd think about it while I eat. I'd be staring at my food while I think about my goal. Even when I scroll on Reels, which you shouldn't do, but when I did, it was all just, I was just thinking about benching 315, and my feed reflected that. When I went to the gym, even when I was benching 255, I was thinking about 315. When I got in my car accident that gave me nerve damage, I was driving home from the gym, and as I was driving home from the gym, I was thinking about 315. When I was lying in the hospital bed, I was thinking about 315. You don't have to be more talented than anyone. You don't have to have some skill or some gift. You don't have to be blessed with an inheritance. You don't have to be rich. You have to be rich in spirit. And you have to be obsessed to the point where you show up every day even when you have nothing to give. Yeah, that's it.